And that's the attitude we all need to have. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. I want you to go out there and I want you to be a doer. And I want you to think about all the things we talked about tonight, about getting attention, about emotions, about not being in the middle. And I want you to put those things in place. Then I want you to come find me in 6 months from now or a year from now. And I want you to say, Jim, you were right. This is what I did. And I'll use you as a case study in my next presentation. So, Wade, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, can we do some questions, Jim?
Let's do it.
Cool. So if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and use the question piece there and send those over, and we'll get to them. In the meantime, while people get questions in, let's talk about a couple of different situations that you mentioned in your book, and a couple of things I've seen you do just in your work since I've known you. Let's talk about the fan protest, because this is one that I think will resound with a lot of the the sports bloggers and whatnot out there. As a long-suffering Browns fan, a few years back, you had a fan protest movement that you started that actually ended up getting you on the evening news.
Yeah, I bought a domain name called, I had an idea to buy, the Browns were playing on Christmas Eve, and they were really bad. And it was Christmas Eve, and it was like the middle of winter, and it was going to be horrible weather. And I said, I'm not going to that game. I'm not giving the owner any more of my money because his team stinks and I'm tired of it. So the marketer in me said, I wonder if I can get on the news that night. So I bought a domain name called fanprotest.com, and I made a little video. This was like the first year YouTube came out. And I put a little video up, and the video was, hey, I'm not going to go to the game because the team stinks, and I think we should all protest the game. And I put this little website up. You can still see it at fanprotest.com. And I sent an email to all the news stations in town, the television and radio. And this was about 3 o'clock. I went home. I walked in the door. My wife handed me the phone, and she said, there's a guy from Channel 3 on the and he wants to come and interview about this fan protest. I hadn't even told my wife what I did. She's like, what is he talking about? I got on the phone. He's like, I want to do a story on it. He said, okay, great. He goes, all right, well, I'll be at your house in an hour. So he came to my house. A couple hours later, I had a feature story on that news that night about 4 hours after I put the website up. And it worked out great for me. I got tons of attention, got tons of phone calls, and I picked up a bunch of clients from it.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that, as affiliates at Fanatics, I mean, the one thing I really like the reason I wanted to connect you with my affiliate audience is that working for a company called Fanatics, working in the sports space, it's okay to be nuts. It's okay to be out there. It's okay to be over the top, especially when it comes to your fanaticism about your team. And so that's a situation where you got a chance to be a little bit out there. You burned about $10. Couple hours of time, if that, to put the site up, and you were able to get on the news. If you had affiliate ads on that site, I mean, you could have been selling Browns jersey, or you could, if you had, went on Cafe Press and designed a, boycott the Browns shirt, you could have been making money on that. That's an opportunity for you to get in front of a ton of people, because I mean, what's the population of Cleveland? How many people are watching the news that night?
Yeah, it really is. And again, it goes back to the taking chances thing. Now, there is a little bit of an X factor. I mean, you're the manager there, Wade, and I'm sure at some point you worry that people could take it too far. But how do you handle something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and to me, as long as you're not, completely embarrassing my brand. I mean, if you're, out there promoting, if you're being a, racist jerk off or something, I'm not going to want to be associated with you. But if you're just out there being kind of a nut about your team, I mean, I'm that way myself. So we're probably going to, be okay with that, as long as you're not just, horrendously embarrassing us and just, calling your team out. I mean, that's passion. That's being a fan. So I think that was pretty cool, and I wish I could have got that video to play at the start, because you did a pretty fun one there, and I'll go ahead and post. I posted that in our Facebook group so people can take a look at that, because it's kind of a fun, kind of a viral video that I'm sure got passed around Cleveland a little bit.
Living on my pain. I see how you are.
Also, somebody asked if the webinar would be recorded. Yep, they all get recorded, and I'll post it. I'll send out a link to everybody when that's ready. Let's talk a little bit about Mark Cuban, because he's another guy in the sports world, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and you had a little project you cooked up around Mark Cuban a while back too that turned out pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I just alluded to. I had an idea, again, a little idea that I had that turns into something big, right? Small little ideas. And you take these ideas, you try them, some work, some don't. I had an idea when social media had just started. Actually, yeah, Facebook wasn't even open yet when this started. It was just college students. I think Twitter was around. Maybe not. No, Twitter wasn't even out yet. I had an idea. I said, I wonder if I can use the power of the internet to get a billionaire to call me. So I bought a domain name called markcubanpleasecallme.com. And I put up a little thing that said, I want to see if I can get Mark Cuban to call me because he's a billionaire. And before the internet, trying to get a hold of a billionaire, was probably not as easy. So I put a little press release out, and it talked about how I wanted to get Mark Cuban to call me. I sent the press release out, and this is back when press releases still really, were generating some type of attention as opposed to just backlinks. And I got a call from a reporter from the Dallas Morning News who said, I cover Mark Cuban, and I saw your press release, and I want to write a story about what you're doing. So I did the interview, told him all about it. The reporter calls me back about 3 hours later. He goes, I just want to let you know, I just talked to Mark Cuban, and he says he hates you. And I said, what? Well, the long story short is that there was another guy with the same initials, Jim K., who had been stalking him for years online, and he assumed I was the guy. So after we cleared that up, I had kind of a laugh about it. The reporter, emailed Mark and said, this isn't the guy. This is a totally different guy. And Mark never eventually called me, but here's what did happen, right? I sent an email to Mark about 2 months later, and I said, I'm the guy who did this thing, and he said that was pretty funny. He returned my email. Never did call me, though. So I'm at Blog World Expo, and the owner of Blog World Expo had Mark Cuban as the keynote, their first one. And he said, Jim, your story was hilarious. Would you introduce him? And I said, great, I'll introduce him. So I got to go up on stage and introduce a billionaire to thousands of people. And when I was talking to him before I went on, I said, Mark, I'm going to introduce you. I'm the guy who did the whole please call me thing. And he started laughing. He said, oh, that was hilarious. Great job on that. So in other words, I've built this relationship with this guy now. He answers my emails. He wrote a blurb for the back of my book. Whenever I have an investing question or if I want to pitch an idea to him, I send him an email. I get responses within like 2 hours constantly from the guy. I mean, it's not like we're buddies or anything, but I've actually built a relationship with this guy off of just one fun, crazy idea. And I actually did work for one of his film company, Magnolia Pictures, with Blog Kits like 4 or 5 years ago now. So, God, time flies really fast. So the point is, simple idea, being creative, taking a chance can pay off.
Yeah, a couple more quickies. PR Puppet Theater. This is one that I liked from the book. It was just something kind of silly and goofy and out there that didn't take a whole lot of investment, ended up, reaping some good rewards.
Yeah, I love this guy's story. So he's, out of work, public relations executive. Can't get a job, right? No one's hiring, or so they say. Doesn't know the right people. Can't get attention. No one's reading his resumes. Sent out resumes for a year. Can't get anyone to return a phone call. So his friend says to him, you got a new baby. You got these little puppets sitting around, these little toys sitting around. He goes, why don't you take a video of you, like, doing situations like holding the puppets up and making silly voices? So that's exactly what he does. He makes, like, an insider video of, like, a situation in a PR firm. Because every industry has your insider jokes, right? If you're in the ball bearing business, if you're in the fast food business, you have the insider jokes, the things that are funny about your industry. He made this little funny video called PR Puppet Theater, and he put it on YouTube. And he sent it out to a bunch of people in the business sector on Fox News and places like that, and they started featuring it on their cable news channels. Then he started getting featured all over the place. And here's the brilliant part about this whole thing. The video is unscripted. He did them in 10 minutes, put them on YouTube. The brilliant part about it was, so instead of sending resumes after he had the exposure, he sent a cover letter. And the cover letter said, if I can get on Fox News, CNN, CNBC, The Today Show, blank, 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 with videos from my child's puppets and a YouTube video, what do you think I can do for your clients? And that was it. And he said a link to watch the videos on YouTube. And he started getting calls and eventually got a job. Don't be in the middle. Be different. Try. Do. It's the same things we keep talking about over and over again.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Jim. I definitely recommend that everybody go out and pick themselves up a copy of Attention. This book will make you money. How to use attention-getting online marketing to increase your revenue. It's cool. It's been cool for me because it's a really simple, once-a-day business read. I mean, you can, sit down over coffee in the morning and read a chapter and get some inspiration. And I definitely can't recommend it enough. If anybody's looking for some ideas, if anybody's looking for somebody to help kick them in the butt a little bit, get some good money making ideas flowing, you can go to Jim's site, jimkukral.com, and I'm sure you can find a way to work with you on that. Thanks for spending the time, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well, Wade. I'd do anything for you, and I'd be happy to do one of these again. Thank you so much.
Cool. There you go. All right. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. And